your first podcast with Senior Kroll.
Right.
I know him. He was here for a little while.
Oh, he was your loss for a while?
For like a quick minute, but he was over up at Fifth.
Yeah.
So he was at my tech school graduation.
He went to it?
He was there for some course. So I ended up meeting him there, and then he was over at Fifth when I got over to Yokota.
Oh wow, yeah, he's a character.
He is.
Let me not speak ill of the guy. No, I really I really don't have anything but great things to say about him. It was funny how we met, and there's a funny story behind all that too. Because I met him at a defense orientation course. So it's the course that you need to take when you become a defense paralegal. And I didn't, I was like, man, this guy goes hard in the paint, like he's a loose cannon. So I was a little concerned because we didn't know, but then he was supposed to be assigned to my office at Lackland as a defense paralegal as well. And I'm like, oh, that's bad news. But nah, he works as hard as he parties, I guess, or as hard as he plays. I don't know. I don't think he's a partier. He's not one to party, but he definitely plays hard and works hard.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. I messaged him last night. I was like, hey, I saw your podcast.
Man.
Spaceman.
El chico por la teléfono es muy guapo.
Chico por el teléfono.
What was that?
I
The
don't
only
know.
thing I know. That and Biblioteca Queso.
That's library cheese.
I like him a lot. He's good people.
Mm-hmm.
Funny.
There's someone else that I'm working with here that used to know you. We've got Sergeant Barry here at Whiteman.
Yes, I love Sergeant Barry. She's there now?
Yep, she just got here, I think, last month.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so she's like, oh yeah, I know Airman Simmons.
Small Air Force.
Mm-hmm. And even smaller JAG Corps. So
Yes.
yeah, you know.
Yeah, she was. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, she was. I would always give her all my 15s, like in bulk. Be like, here you go.
That's right. Yeah, so because she was at the 5th Air Force, right?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, good. So is it busy? You guys busy over there?
So I don't want to jinx it right now, but I think because of COVID, it kind of slowed everything down. But before COVID, it was pretty busy.
So how are you guys doing with COVID? Are there any, any adjustments that you've had to make since, or?
I mean, so we started for like the office portion of it. We stopped doing walk-in appointments. Or like just walk-ins. We do appointment only. I think that was the biggest adjustment that we made.
Well, for Article 15s, have you made use of the electronic version?
We've only done that once. For the most part, we're able to get everybody to physically sign the copy of it. The electronic one we did was because someone was in ROM.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've done a couple of those too. Trying to think outside the box, especially when people are in ROM. Yeah. And how about courts? Have you done court since COVID started?
So I haven't actually I just got assigned to my first court. I don't think we've really done a court since COVID started. Okay. Everything was kind of on pause and on hold just because like the travel restrictions and trying to get people here, everything got delayed. So I don't believe we've actually done a court.
I know Misawa. There was a sergeant. I think it's a sergeant up there I talked to not too long ago. Forgot his name, but they had a court martial there. Purcell, maybe Sergeant Purcell, something like that. I'm sorry if I messed up your name. Um, but I spoke with him, and I mean they had a fully litigated court, and he said that they had 2 general courts in one day, and this is COVID. I think they were both sexual assault, and they had one in the legal office, and they had another one at the AL where they do ALS. So I guess the professional development center or whatever. So they had one there and one in the courtroom, and it was fully litigated. They had to travel people from the States and from Europe, from all over the place.
Yeah, everything right now has just been pushed back, so we haven't done anything like that yet.
Yeah. How about teleworking? Have you all done? Did you start teleworking before when it all began, or?
So what we did was like split shifts. So we had like an A shift and a B shift. So then that way, but we were still working in the office. We had it was from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. was the first shift, and then second shift was 12 to 6 p.m. So that way, in case like Group A got infected, then that way we were still able to still work and carry everything on. And then just a lot of cleaning the office, and we didn't have any contact with whichever group you weren't in. We didn't have any contact with them, so that way if something happened, the whole office didn't get taken out.
Right.
But we didn't really telework though.
Okay. So you guys essentially fully operational?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. So we're here with Airman Simmons, A1C Simmons, from Yokota Air Base, and really, so how this all came about is the announcement on Yokota Air Base Facebook page, so on their official Facebook page, recognizing you as as their airlifter of the week. I think is what they call it. So, and they do that for all airmen, Big A, essentially on the enlisted side, across the base. So I think, it's a pretty cool, award and recognition, because that's one that, it's all the career fields all around the entire base. So that was really cool. But not only have you, so after that, that was like, wow, that's definitely a high performer, one of the high performers that we have in the career field. And one of the things that we've been doing is making sure that we highlight high performers through the podcast. And then as I'm doing more, we're doing more research on Airman Simmons, it turns out that she was also the Paralegal of the Month for the entire Air Force in March. So back in March. So I didn't know that, or maybe at the time when I saw it, it was like, yeah, right. Like another airman getting Performer of the Month, which is great. But now, putting 2 and 2 together, it's like, all right, you see a trend here. And then not only that, but also amongst other awards, have been Hard Charger, right? Hard Charger of the Month, recognized by the top 3. Diamond Sharp Award, recognized by the first sergeants, and been coined left and right by the first sergeants as well, and other individuals. So really, just been crushing it over there at Yokota. And it's good, and I'm glad that we get to talk to you here today. So before we start, just if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So my name is Airman First Class Mallory Simmons. I have been at Yokota since July of last year. A little bit about me. I am a paralegal. I've been doing it for a little bit now. I'm currently in school. I get to graduate in 2 weeks with my bachelor's, so that's pretty exciting. When I'm not working and not doing homework, I like to just go outside, go hike, I don't know, try to have a little bit of fun outside the office. But other than that, yeah, I just kind of focus on work a lot. It's just a little bit about me.
All right, awesome. Okay, so we'll definitely cover some other things, and we'll just go. We'll start essentially a little bit of background to where you're originally from.
So I spent most of my time in Illinois. It was a little town called Wood River, Illinois, about 45 minutes outside of St. Louis. And then the last 5 years, I lived in Georgia, North Georgia, and then now I'm in Japan. So I had a little bit of a late start. I joined the Air Force when I was 27 years old. So probably, a little bit older going into basic training. I worked for a company called A1C before that, and I just wasn't happy with it. I wanted to do something else. So I ended up leaving and just randomly deciding I'm going to join the Air Force. And so here I am. That's kind of how I got here.
All right. So, okay. So Illinois, you go to Georgia. Was it in Georgia then that you were working with AT&T?
Yeah. So for 1 year I was in Illinois, and then at the time, our headquarters was in Atlanta. So I was like, cool, I'm going to move to Atlanta. That's where headquarters is. I wanted to go that route. So I did. I transferred, ended up going where I wanted to, but then still wasn't fully satisfied with what I was doing. But I did get stuck there for a little over 5 years and then just decided that I wanted something different. But yeah, that's how I ended up being in Georgia.
Okay. Now, were you essentially retail at AT&T or?
So I did a little bit of everything. I was mostly in retail. I did management, and then my last job that I did there, I ended up transferring to an individual contributor role where I was like, I was still in a management position, but it was more of going to people's houses and having more of like a personal interaction with somebody and setting up their services at their house, which was like a pilot program they were doing. So I did that. Yeah, so a little bit of everything, but mostly management and retail.
Okay, great. So, I mean, that maybe speaks to some of the leadership that you've displayed and some of the great work that you've done since being in Yokota. All right. So, how did the idea of joining the Air Force happen? Like, did you have people that you know that are in the Air Force or have been in the Air Force, or how did that come about?
So for me, so my uncle was the Air Force reservist. He retired doing that. So it always kind of been on my mind. My grandpa was a World War II vet. But that's kind of all the military that I knew. Personally for me, so whenever, because like I said, I'm a little bit older. So when September 11th happened for me, for some reason, that was just, my mom was a flight attendant. So for that, for me, hit a little bit more personally, just because how realistic that could have been my mom. So I think that was kind of a motivating factor for me, that I wanted to join the military. I wanted to try to be a part of something bigger than what I was doing. And at the time, I think I was 9 when it happened. But I just remember that. And ever since then, I really just wanted to join the military. And like I said, I just had a slow start doing it, but here I am. But
That's right. Okay. All right, good. So so you decided that you were going to join, and then you joined from Georgia then? Is that where you saw the recruiter and stuff?
yes, I started everything. I started everything in Georgia. And then that's where I went through MEPS there. I flew out from there to go to basic training. I did everything.
Okay, good. And then, so the decision to go in open general, because that takes some courage, especially with the different options being out there that are, tend to be less desired than others. Yeah, how did you say, okay, yeah, I'm going open general?
Yeah, so I was really impatient when I was ready to go. I really, like, once I made the decision to join the Air Force, I'm like, cool, let's go. I'm ready. I've been working with my recruiter for months. Open general not originally what I was going to do. I really wanted to either do like medical or intel. I had all these great ideas of what I wanted to do, and nothing was open. And I waited 6-7 months. My recruiter finally called me. He was like, hey, I just put you in open general. He was like, when you get to basic training, you'll have a smaller list of things to choose from, and it'll be a lot better. And this is the day you're leaving. And I was just like, didn't really know what that meant. And I was a little nervous because I was like, wow, that's, all right, when am I leaving? And it was like 2 weeks from the time that he called me. So, but I was ready to go. So I was like, let's see what happens. And then I got to basic training, and he was kind of right. There was a list I had to fill out. The jobs were a lot less because it was only the jobs that the Air Force needed, and paralegal was one of them. I never thought about being a paralegal before, but I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I'll put it on my list. So, and then here I am. That's how that happened. It wasn't, I had never looked at it prior to going in open general, and that was one of my options. So I was just like, cool, I'll put that down.
So what did you know about paralegal or paralegal as a job, and have you, what had you learned about that before?
So before I put that on my list, because I mean, like I said, I did everything at basic. So even putting down my jobs is very, kind of hurry up, put it down, turn your paper in. I didn't really know anything about it. In my head, I was thinking of like Law and Order, and like the TV shows I had seen, like that was about my knowledge of lawyers and paralegals. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. But then I saw the other options on there, and I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do that either. So yeah, it was definitely interesting for me. It was kind of like a gamble. Like, and then when I got an interview to be a paralegal, and they were like, well, you can turn it down if you don't want it, but then basically they're just going to pick something for you. So I ended up just being like, okay, well, let's do it. It came up twice. I was like, I'll just, guess going to be part of Law and Order. I didn't really know a whole lot about what I was getting myself into, but I was open for it.
Nice. What was the interview like? Do you remember like what they asked?
Well, so what happened was they called like 10 of us out of our training class, and they were like, hey, come here. You gotta do an interview for a job, but they didn't really specify what it was for. And I got there, and I immediately had to do like a little typing test. And then they called us all in a room, and they talked for a little bit before I even realized what I was in there for. Because honestly, I'd put a couple intel jobs down. So in my head, I was like, cool, I think I'm going to get this intel job because I think they're interviewing for it. And halfway through it, I realized it was for being a paralegal. And I was like, what are we doing? So it was kind of fun. They did, give a really good description about the job. Things you might see, making sure that you're comfortable with being a paralegal. They were very upfront and open about that aspect of it. But I sat there, I listened to what everyone had to say, and I decided that I think this is a good move for me. I think I will enjoy it. And I just kind of went with my gut because I was honestly also afraid of what I might get if I didn't select being a paralegal.
Gotcha. So I have a question, because it seems like, I'm not sure if the recruitment in basic training is going to go completely away, but I do know that we're going to start recruiting people or giving people jobs before they actually come into the Air Force. So during the recruiting process, that's when it's going to happen. So in your case, right? So in your case, if your recruiter had come to you and said, hey, I do have one job and it's paralegal, would you be willing to take it? Now, do you think, or maybe, I don't know, would it have been different, or would you just still said, nah, just give me open general?
So I think if my recruiter would have said, hey, I have a paralegal position, do you want it? I don't know if I would have taken it because I was really excited about some other opportunities that were on my list. And I was open with the idea of going in open general because I thought it would give me a better chance of getting a different job. But I think if they did it where you got to do a walkthrough, kind of see the office, have a real understanding of what your day-to-day was going to be like, I might have done it. Because like I said, I was really nervous selecting it because I didn't really know anything about it. And I had kind of been doing retail and like corporate stuff, and I really didn't want to be in an office. I was pretty excited about maybe even jumping out of a plane or thinking I was going to do something a little bit different. So I don't know at the time if I would have went with it, but honestly now I'm glad that I did. But it just depends on how they would have done it. So if I got to do, like I said, like a walkthrough and, got to talk to people and say, hey, how do you like it? It might have changed my mind. I don't know if it would have changed it to do it or not do it. I think it depends on who I talk to, but I definitely think it worked out the way it was supposed to because I think I'm a little good at it.
That's right. Yeah. So he's saying that's the thing. I'm not saying that I'm necessarily worried about it, right? I just don't know how much knowledge there is out there as to what really being a paralegal all entails. And I don't even think it's fair to compare the paralegal duties in the military or in the Air Force and paralegal duties in the civilian world, because it's not the same, right? And to me, the most exciting part of what we do is military justice, really, right? And that's not a thing in the civilian world. Now, again, not turning it off. I think we're valuable assets in the civilian world because we do learn a lot of different things with contracts and civil law and claims, and that's like ethics, and that tends to be the thing that they're really looking for in the civilian world, not so much justice per se. But I don't know. To me, like courts and 15s is where it's at. Okay, so that's interesting. That's an interesting point. Okay, so how early do you get notified then? Is it right after the interview that you get notified that you actually got paralegal, or when did you get the news about that?
So I didn't find out until about 4 days from leaving basic training. I didn't even know where I was going until the last day I got my plane ticket, and it said I was going to Maxwell. And I remember in the paralegal training, they were saying that the training was in Maxwell. So I didn't really even put it together until I was leaving and getting on the bus that, hey, I'm a paralegal. This is where I'm going. So I feel like it was that last week that I really figured out this is where I'm going, because they didn't really confirm or tell you anything. It was, like I said, that last week that I figured out, hey, this is where I'm going. I think I am going to be a paralegal, because they don't tell you the day of, but you do have interviews, and they ask you a bunch of questions to kind of figure out if you're going to be a good fit or not. But I didn't find out till weeks after that I actually did get it, and this is what I was going to be doing. This is where I was going. So that was definitely interesting for me, because I definitely like knowing things, and I didn't know anything until the last minute. But
wow. Okay, so on the bus, like, I don't know where I'm going. You're going to Maxwell. Oh, I guess I'm going to be a paralegal, and unless I'm going to be a pilot. But yeah. All right. So in basic training, though, I forgot to ask you: were you in the newer dorms or were in the older dorms?
So I was in Disneyland. I was in the newer dorms.
I hear they still have some flights that are still stuck in the old dorms.
They do. I had to do a training, because actually when I went to my paralegal interview, I missed one of the trainings we had to do that was an all day. So I actually had to go over to the older side, and it was a lot different. It was a whole different world over there. So I got to experience that for just part of a day.
Wow. Yeah, no, I can imagine the culture. It is different. I've never seen the new facilities. I was at Lackland. I think I left in 2013, and they were still, I think the newer facilities were under construction still. So I don't even think they were finished then. So I can imagine how different they really are. Okay. So you're on the bus, you're going to Maxwell, paralegal. get to Maxwell and go into the JAC school. What did you think? What was your first impression?
So for me personally, it was a little overwhelming because, like I said, at the time, I just got my phone back on the bus and I'm trying to Google what a paralegal is, what it's going to entail. And like you said, it is very different from the civilian world. When I went through tech school, it was very fast paced because it was before they revamped it. So it was just it was a little overwhelming because it was just like another new place. They did give us the curriculum of what we were going to be doing. And it was like, oh, wow, this is a lot. Like, I hope I can keep up because I wasn't really familiar with anything paralegal. And I don't know if anyone really was. So it was a little overwhelming at first, but I ended up making it through it. So, but it was definitely kind of a shock. I got to see everything and get to see the school. And I was very excited, but also like, man, I hope I can do this because this is really different from what I've done before. But it ended up being really good.
So when do you think it hit you that you were like, yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy this, or yeah, I think I'm going to be pretty good at this?
Honestly, it didn't even hit me until probably a few months after being here at Yokota, because even in class, the class portion for me was a little bit harder because I'm more of a hands-on and that's how I learn. I definitely struggled with trying to memorize everything and get through class and know what we were doing. But once I got here at the base, it was a lot better because I got hands-on. I really got to understand what I was doing. And a few months after being here, I was like, man, I really like this. I can do this. Like, I get it. So it took a little bit of time for me to figure out if I was going to like this or not.
Okay. All right. And let's talk about your assignment. So I know in basic training, you get an opportunity to write down the bases where you want to go to, right?
Yes.
What did you have on there? Was Japan anywhere on there?
So when I was going through basic, they told us, so honestly, I didn't want to go overseas at first. I only wanted stateside. And they told us you have to put overseas down. You have to fill out your list. And again, it was very quick. So it was kind of fill out your list, do this. Japan was on my list. I didn't honestly even know Yokota was on there until I got selected to come to Yokota Air Base because I was just picking random things because they were like, oh, you're a first-time airman. They're like, you won't go overseas. So they're like, don't worry about what you put, just put something random. So I see what I did. I literally just put some random bases and, I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it because I'm like, oh, I'll go anywhere in the States. I don't care where they send me. And then here I am in Japan.
Oh no. Where did you want to go?
Oh man, honestly, like I said, I would have gone anywhere in the States. But looking back, knowing that I'm here now, because so they didn't announce where our assignments were until we were in tech school. And everyone was super excited. I was actually the only one that got Japan, and everyone was super excited that I was going, told me how much fun I was going to have, how great it was going to be. And then I kind of changed my view on it to be like really positive, like, okay, this is going to be fun. I'm going to like it. But honestly, like where I wanted to go in the States was probably just Florida. Like I was pretty basic. I just wanted to go to a beach, see some water. Like I didn't have very high expectations. I'm like, if there's water, I'll be happy. So that was kind of my thought process of making my list. Like I said, I didn't put much thought into it because I was like, yeah, I'll go wherever. It'll be fine. But it ended up working out, and I actually really like it here. And now, instead of only wanting the States, I only want to go overseas now. So I think that actually worked out for the better.
Yeah, my favorite place to go to is Tokyo. I love Tokyo. So I was at Kadena for eight years in Okinawa, and yeah, I loved it. So I mean, I wanted to stay there even longer. But I traveled a lot to go to Tokyo and visit. I never went to Yokota, but I was definitely in the Tokyo area and the fish market. Have you been yet to that area?
I haven't yet. Honestly, I haven't traveled too much since I've been here. I've only done a couple hiking spots, and like I said, I'm pretty basic. I haven't really traveled too much yet. I just went to Shimoda Beach this weekend, and that's about as far as I've traveled.
Gotcha. And Tokyo is awesome. I love Tokyo, and it's to me. So when I compare, because it definitely has the feel of New York City, or at least you can compare it to New York City a little bit. But it's just such. And then again, if anyone watching or listening is from New York City, I mean no disrespect when I say that Tokyo is just a much more improved version of New York City. It's just the streets are cleaner. The public transportation is cleaner. The subway stations are well maintained. Um, it's just, it is what it is, right? And it's divided. It's great because it's divided kind of like by districts, right? So you have like the shopping district, and you have the fish market district, and you have like the video game district, and the bar and partying district, and everything is divided nicely for whatever it is that you want to do. So yeah, I'm definitely a huge Tokyo fan. So I'm sure you'll make it out there eventually.
I definitely plan on traveling more and seeing a little bit more. It's just been a little hectic just because of COVID and not trying to, expose myself any more than I need to. But definitely getting a little bit braver. Like I said, I finally saw a beach, so I was really excited. I didn't even do anything but just see water, and I was so happy to do that. So I'll probably be doing a little bit more coming up soon. That's
right. Yeah, there's a lot of different. Well, I don't know how much water there is in Tokyo per se. I know there's Fukuoka on the west in Japan. But Kadena is great. So if you ever want to make it to Okinawa, the plane tickets were pretty cheap too. Because I know from Okinawa to Tokyo, it was like I don't know, $100-$200 round trip maybe. And it's really nice. But there's also other options like Indonesia or Thailand and all these other places.
Yeah, I say I definitely my list is growing of things that I want to do, and Okinawa is on there. I would love to go there and spend 1 or 2 weeks there. So that's on my to-do list.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's great. It's a lot of like scuba diving, all kinds of crazy stuff that I can talk about Okinawa all day. So that's the spot. All right. So Yokota, right? You get assigned Yokota. At first, you're like, how did I get Japan? But sure, let's go. Why not? And then you get there, meet the team. So what was your first impression of getting to your first base?
So it was actually a really great experience. My sponsor was amazing. She emailed me like a couple weeks before I got there. She was really responsive. She had like a room set up, my PO box, like she was on it. She had everything set up for me. And whenever I arrived here, like the whole office was there to meet me at like the terminal. So it was like, I don't know, that was just really neat. I don't know if that's just like a Yokota thing, but I didn't remember anyone's names, but everyone was like super nice. They met me after this really long plane ride. And then it like poured rain. I felt really bad because it like poured rain when they were trying to help me with my luggage. And I'm not good at packing light. So I had so many suitcases and they were so heavy. And the cars are really tiny. So it took like a couple of cars to fill up. And then everyone got drenched. I felt really bad, but it was a really fun experience and everyone was so welcoming, and yeah, like everyone just met me there and it was like so cool. And then the time difference hit the next day, but it was a really neat experience. Like I said, I had a great sponsor, and she even took me out to Tokyo, showed me how to use the train system. I ate some ramen. It was really neat. I don't know, like I said, if that's like just a Yokota thing or if my next space will be that awesome, but it was definitely neat seeing everyone meet me there and being so excited that I was there. So I really appreciated the welcome, and it made me feel like this is going to be an awesome base. Like it was just really great.
Good. And you got there, you said you got there in the summer, right?
Yes, I got here last July.
So weather, as far as weather-wise, it was everything. I think that's perfect time to be there. I think.
It's funny because I think even today they say it rained the hardest when I came in than it has like even today. Like it just poured for like a good 5-10 minutes. It was good.
Perfect timing. Welcome to Japan.
Right. It's like, here I am. And then everyone got drenched. I'm like, sorry. By the way, I have like a billion bags and they weigh a lot. So it was fun. I had a lot of fun.
Nice. And that's good. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think it's specific Yokota thing. I think other offices try to do that, but I know that it's pretty cool when they get out there and welcome someone in. Typically under better circumstances as far as the rain and everything like that, but still cool nonetheless. All right, so you got there, and then where did you start? Where did you start working once you got there?
I think I started the next day because I got in pretty early the day I arrived, and then I'm pretty sure the next day I showed up at the office. It either was the next day or the day after that I showed up. Like I said, I had to adjust to the time difference, but I started pretty much as soon as I got in.
And then you were assigned to where in the office?
Oh, I'm still in adverse actions. That's where I was originally assigned to. And I started doing 15s as soon as I got in. They showed me how to do it. I got, my little desk set up for where I was going to be. I started learning a lot. Pretty much as soon as I got in, it was like, hey, here's this. We're going to show you how to do it. We're going to teach you. And then I just kind of made it, because they told me it's kind of like my program, so I can kind of run it how I wanted to. So I just started learning as much as I could about it and then kind of setting it up how it would work for me, and just kind of had a lot of fun with it.
And how was your relationship with the first sergeants? Or how soon, I guess, did you establish that relationship?
So for me, so supervisors are really good about pushing, the first sergeants over to me saying, hey, this is A1C Simmons. She's going to be your new point of contact. Because I think maybe the first week they would go to kind of their familiar face of who they knew, but then they would kind of kick them back and say, hey, no, this is who you're going to be working with. And so I immediately got to develop that relationship with them. And then in the beginning, I did a first sergeant symposium where I got to introduce myself and talk about Article 15s and letting them know, hey, I'm going to be, your go-to if you need anything. Here's my information. So I kind of got to do that pretty early on. And like I said, anytime anything would come in, I would directly be calling them, emailing, and I got to kind of build that relationship with them early on. And I think that definitely helped. So I'm not sure where it cut off at, but basically after I did the first sergeant symposium, I got to introduce myself and say, hey, I'm your new POC. And we also did, I want to say it was a breakfast where I got to also where all the first sergeants were. They had a first sergeant meeting. We went in, everyone kind of introduced themselves because we had one of our new captains was taking over adverse actions. So we got to introduce ourselves all together. And so that was really helpful.
Good. I know that, sometimes it can be a little intimidating for newer airmen or difficult. Maybe not intimidating per se, but maybe a little more difficult to establish that relationship off the bat with the first sergeant. So that's good that you were able to, to establish that quickly.
Yeah, I would say at first I think I was a little bit nervous calling them because, I didn't know anything about the military and I was just kind of brand new and trying to figure everything out. And so I think at first I was a little intimidated by it, but just as more time went on, I got more comfortable. I learned the lingo, and we have acronyms for everything. And I was finally starting to learn, what things meant when people would call and ask me things. So I think as more time went on, I got more comfortable with it because I was more confident in my job and, knowing what AFI to reference, and just as more time went on, I was able to learn more about what I was doing in my job. And so I think that helped too.
Yeah, so no, that's really good. So as adverse actions, do you also do discharges?
I do. I did. So we had a discharge clerk, but she actually left a few months after I got here. So I started taking over discharges from October up until last month when we got our new discharge clerk in. So I got to run the discharges as well as Article 15s and demotions. So I was a little busy.
That's right. No, absolutely. Yeah, you were. And how's the Article 15 tempo over there? Like, how many do you average like on any given month?
So at the beginning of the year, the first quarter, we had closed out like 25 or 26 NJPs. So it was higher than up in the years prior to that, even looking back to like 2017. But I think once COVID hit, it slowed everything down a little bit. But we were definitely busy. I know at one point in a 2-day span, I had done like 16 or 17 Article 15s because something had popped off on base. So it was a little busy, but now it's kind of slowed down a little bit because of COVID. But I think our average now is still going to be more than last year.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Some things are picking up here as well because of the stop movement and people busting quarantine and stuff like that. So those are introducing new offenses now. We had to bust out the I can't remember which article it is, but the one for quarantine.
Quarantine. Okay. Yeah, I said we haven't had a quarantine yet, but we definitely have had like breaking the restrictions and going out past when you're not supposed to, just going in like hot zones. But they are starting to relax it a little bit. So I imagine stuff will probably come up pretty soon.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then so discharges 15, and it seems so. I have your package here for an upcoming important board that is happening here. We're hoping that everything goes well with that. But it says here that you did some demotions as well. Oh, right.
Yes.
And you mentioned that you did demotions, discharges 15. So out of those three, which ones do you prefer to do? Or which one did you like the most?
So at first, when I had discharges, my first discharge package was super overwhelming for me because I didn't know anything about it. But now, I kind of really like putting the packages together. And although it's a little bit of paperwork on it, I learned a lot from doing that. Okay. No problem. So I think the discharge program, I kind of enjoyed being able to put that together, kind of making it my own. I did have quite a bit of help from my captains helping me build some templates, but I really like putting those packages together, getting to look at everything, kind of helping the first sergeants through that and working together. Like I said, I definitely didn't enjoy, somebody being, discharged from the Air Force, but I think just the process itself, getting to put it together, I really liked that process. It was neat to get to learn it, and I feel like I learned a lot more by being able to do that than I think. The 15s were good, but kind of once you do it, like, they're not really difficult to put together, I don't think. So the discharges, I feel like I got to learn a lot from that and really dive into the discharge AFI and learning, if this is, then you have to do this, and how putting all the evidence together and everything works. So I feel like I learned the most from being able to do the discharge program for a couple months.
Yeah, good. No, I enjoy doing discharges. I did discharges exclusively for a year at Lackland. So it's a discharge paralegal. That's it. That's all I did. So we're doing basic training discharges, tactical discharges, and permanent party discharges. So it was a lot, but it's fun. But I like Article 15s. My thing is Article 15s. If I could just get paid to do that, we'd be golden. So there were, let me see. It also says that you did some civil law. So did you get some civil law experience as well, as far as on the front? How's your office essentially structured?
So right now we're down quite a few paralegals. So that's, I think, why I've been doing quite a bit of the civ law side of it. We do have somebody that helps at the front desk, like answering phones, preparing the paperwork and everything. And then we do have a paralegal up at the front as well. But we do a lot of fill-ins, like rotation. So like a lot of notaries, POAs, just basic things, and wills. That's about the majority of what I've been doing for civ law, just helping out. Like I said, we've had a lot of shortage just because people PCSing and going to 7-level school. So it's been a little low manning on that, but just mostly filling in at the front desk, helping answer the phones. Like I said, getting the power of attorneys set up and some will practice.
Good. Yeah, that's always a constant for us. I don't think it's something that we can escape. We'll always be summoned to the front desk and to do a notary here and there. And I mean, because that's the part of our customer service, right? I mean, otherwise, our customers would only be commanders and first sergeants, but well, for the most part, as far as justice is concerned. But with the civil law, that's where the customer service comes into play, and getting all the deployers and the powers of attorneys and everything else. So, and the phone calls, which are it's an adventure. It's an adventure being at the front desk answering phone calls, because I mean the things that people will ask, because they'll ask us anything, right? It's like it's kind of strange, but I'll try to help you out. Okay, and then so there's some things here as well that I see that you've done out in the community. So talk to me about some of these things that you've been involved in, and how did you go about getting involved in those things? Is it something that you wanted to do? Was it something that you were encouraged to go out there and do? How did that all happen?
So are you referring to like volunteer events, or just like going to the Marine camp? Like which specifically?
All of those, right? So the volunteering, and also right, and that one as well, with the Marine Corps.
So I think first I'll touch on the Marine Corps, just because I think even to right now, I think that was the best experience I've had so far. Basically, I got to be a part of their professional military education, like PME course, for their lance corporals. So for them, in order for them to get promoted, it was the lance corporal seminar, which means they were E3, but for them to get promoted to corporal, E4, you have to go through a whole week worth of training. So I was fortunate enough to be a part of that. And that was, I think, by far the best experience I've had so far, getting to interact with another branch of service, get to learn, how they do things. So I was really fortunate, and I had a lot of fun getting to learn from them. And they do things quite a bit differently from what I've experienced. So that was just so much fun. Like I said, my leadership put me up for that, and I was fortunate enough to get selected for that. And like I said, it was just a lot of fun getting to learn, how they do things in their day to day. It's quite a bit different from here, but that was just a great opportunity for me, and I really enjoyed it.
So what sort of things were you doing there then? Like, what was it like?
Can you hear me? I think it's frozen.
I can hear you, but your image is frozen. How about me?
Ooh. Okay, I can see you now. It froze for a minute. I'm sorry.
All right, no worries. Yeah. Yeah, but what was it like? What sort of things were you doing?
So we did a lot of PT.
Okay.
Like a lot.
Well,
it was definitely PT? A lot different from Air Force. What was PT like? Okay. So for example, for the first day that we did, because I wrote it down because, I like remembering what I do. So the first day, the PT our warm-up was actually doing sprints. And not just like a couple of sprints, but probably 5 or 10 minutes worth of sprints to where I thought that was the PT. I'm like, okay, cool. We did some sprints. I'm good. No, that was our warm up. So then we did from the sprints. So we did 3 count push-ups, which is basically 3 in 1. So we did 23 count push-ups. We did more running. They really like to run like a lot. Weighted lunges. We did 3 sets of 20. We did some tire flips. I like this really big tire. We flipped it halfway down a field, and their field's really big. Like it's not like a little field. It's a pretty large field. And then we did in between between each section, we would do burpees because you weren't really supposed to not be doing anything. So in between trying to breathe, we were doing burpees. So that was just day 1 of PT. So I think that for me was a lot different than Air Force PT, but their standards are a lot higher. But that was my first day. And then we broke off into class. So basically what it was, because like I said, it was a training course. So after we did PT, we'd meet in kind of like not a gym, but it's like an auditorium kind of. And then we broke out into like 3 groups, and then we just did facilitation throughout most of the day. So they would talk about like Marines leading Marines. We got to do open forums of like, what leadership style do you like? How do you deal with conflict? It was really just learning about how to, once you get troops of your own, because for them, once they hit E4, they're assigned their own lance corporals, and they're immediately put into that leadership position. So it was really just learning about how to be a leader and what works, what doesn't work, and opening it up for just honest, open conversation. They definitely didn't hold back for what they did or did not like. And I think that was really neat. I got a lot of takeaways from being there for that week.
Right. Yeah. That's, I guess, maybe their version of ALS. That I'm sure you'll be in ALS here soon, maybe within the next year or 2. But it's similar, less PT. I can tell you that. You won't be flipping tires, that's for sure. Any tug of war type stuff during the course?
So they did do this one thing. So they tied like a bungee rope around you, and you had to wait. And so it was connected to like this really long rope. And so the other person would sprint as far as they could. And as soon as you felt tension like on yourself, you had to like, you just kind of took off sprinting, because it kind of catapulted you forward. But it was really fun, but also really terrifying, because if you missed a step, you were totally going to fall on your face. And I didn't want to do that in front of everybody. But yeah, they did all kinds of weird stuff that I'd never seen before. They even did like, their warm-ups were like 100 pull-ups, and I'm like, I can do a pull-up. This is good. So like I said, it was just really different, but I was able to keep up, so I was super proud of myself. But it was a lot of fun. I was also really tired, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like as an Air Force member, we need to fill out like a high risk activity form every time that we do PT with the Marines,
So they definitely joked about, are you getting hazard pay for being with us? Because it was just so different from, our PT is pretty lax. Like, go run a couple laps, do some push-ups, some sit-ups, and they're like, hey, let's go flip some tires and do like 100 pull-ups. And, every station was, half of it was probably about what we did. So like I said, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I'm definitely stepping up my own personal PT, so that way, hopefully when they have another one, if I'm fortunate enough to go to that one, I will be ready for it, because I was definitely not prepared.
Be ready for it for sure.
Yes.
Well, that's super cool that you were able to get that experience early on, and it's also cool because we don't really have that opportunity at every base. So, that they have that, and that they welcome other, sister service members. That's really good. So good on you for joining them, and definitely good on you for keeping up with them as well, or just keeping up, right? Not like passing out, and so that's pretty cool. And then some of these other activities, right? Around the base. So you said you helped out with the Air Force Ball, you helped out with a orphanage visit. Was this for off-base orphanage, or what was that?
Yeah, so this was just like an off-base orphanage. I believe it was during like Valentine's or somewhere around there, where we went and we got to just hang out with all the kids. We got to play with them for hours. They got to paint, color. It was just really interesting to go see how, the orphanage was, get to play with the kids, see what their setup was like. That was a really neat experience for me. So for me personally, so I was adopted. So getting to see, the orphanage that was here, and, getting to play with the kids, it was just such a great experience. And I really enjoyed doing it. And I think that's why I was really pushing to kind of want to get to do that and go with the people that were going, because I wanted to be able to experience that, play with the kids. I think some toys and some other things were donated to them, but it was a really neat experience, and I'm really glad I got to be a part of it.
No, that's really good. Definitely, and especially off base as well. Just helping with the community, and I thought that being in Okinawa for me as well. I thought it was important that we were doing positive things in their community, because a lot of times we get a bad rap, right? Whether we're known for going around town with our music all loud and stuff like that, right? And then like, oh, here we come, here comes the Americans per se, right? We don't. That's not the reputation or the image that we want to have out there, right? We definitely want that when we're seen, or if we're happen to be in uniform and we're off base, that people are not immediately going to, oh, this is trouble or something negative. So I think when we do those things and we're involved in the community in a positive way, it definitely shows that that we're ambassadors for the Air Force, for our country, and that we do mean well, and that we respect their culture and all of those things. So I think that's definitely big time and important when we're stationed overseas. And you mentioned something about a trial. I don't see it here.
Oh.
Was it the trial observer? Right?
Yes, so I got to go to a trial off base, like at an actual like Japanese courthouse. And so I got to actually witness the person that was on trial actually confessed to what they did. That was not something that they anticipated happening. So I got to be a part of that, see how, their court system works. I got to take some really good notes and really kind of understand their court process, how it works. And that was a really neat experience. It was unfortunate because of, what happened, but just seeing it for full circle of what happened and getting to be a part of witnessing, how their processes work. So I was really fortunate to be able to go see that. And then after I was able to see the trial, I ended up getting to go to a prison, like the Japanese prison, and I got to interview two prison members with SOFA status. So that was a really neat experience. That was really bringing it full circle. Like, here's the trial, this is how this works, and then basically this is where they're going afterwards. And just kind of making sure that the relationship, with the members that have SOFA status, they're being, treated the way that they should be, and that everything was good. I think that was also a really neat experience because I actually got to interview both members that were there. So I never expected to be able to do that either.
Oh, wow. Did you need to interview them for a case that you had on base, or?
So basically, if a member has SOFA status that is in a Japanese prison, to my understanding of was that we check on them quarterly just to make sure that all the guidelines are being followed, making sure, their rights aren't being violated. And just also it helps strengthen the relationship we have, with the Japanese government, and making sure that everyone's following the guidelines, and, just asking them, because a lot of the conversation was just like, how's everything going? Is there anything that you need? Like making sure that like their medical needs are being taken care of, and that, it was just really just basic questions, just getting to talk to them, making sure that, they were in good spirits, because I believe both of them were actually in there for life. So it's just communicating with them, seeing how everything was going. And then that's something that they've been doing, I believe, quarterly or every couple months. They go down there and talk to these prisoners.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, no, that's super interesting then. So the trial part of it, was it in English, or did they have was it a translator? That was, how was that?
So they did have a translator, so we were able to hear, they had a translator there, so we actually sat behind the translator, so we were able to hear what the member was saying and what all was going on, because the parents of the member was there, and obviously, they didn't speak Japanese or anything like that, so we sat behind where we could actually hear what was going on and what the person was saying.
Gotcha. It's interesting that you say that they confessed, because one thing that I thought was interesting when I went to Japan is, and you get the brief, is that you don't have the right to remain silent like you do in the States, right? There's no Fifth Amendment. There is no Miranda rights. That doesn't exist. So when you are taken into custody, I don't think you can get released until you talk. So you have to talk, and you can't just say, no, I'm not. If you're not talking, okay, that just means that you're gonna be longer time in prison. So once you talk, then you're coming out. So I don't think there's an option not to talk.
Yeah, I would say definitely during her, because she did her testimony and what her version of what happened was, but during it, she kept changing her story and saying, well, I did it for this reason and it was an accident. And then in the middle of it, the judge was basically just like, okay, so what happened? Because you're giving so many different versions of this, what happened? And then she ended up just kind of blurting out complete opposite of what she had been saying the whole time. So that's what I mean is that she kind of confessed, because although she said she did it, the reasons why she was doing it was consistently different. And in the middle of it, she's like, no, this is why I did it. I didn't mean to do it. And then everyone just kind of stood up and everyone was dismissed because I guess because she gave such a different testimony of what her version of what happened was. So that was just really interesting, because in the middle of it, everyone just kind of stood up and were like, what's going on? And she was dismissed. Everyone was dismissed. And then I guess they went back until the next day. But it was definitely an interesting moment of what just happened. They definitely weren't expecting that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. So you've been doing a lot of great things here in Yokota, right? And you've been getting involved. And another thing that I forgot to mention was that you even finished your bachelor's degree. So you completed your bachelor's degree while there as well. So what is what's the drive? Like, what's driving you? What's motivating you to just, want to be excellent, to want to go above and beyond? Yeah, what's happening?
Well, so I actually graduated my bachelor's on the 21st. I will be done. I'm in week 10 out of 11, but official grades post on the 21st.
Okay.
But yes, almost there, basically there.
Okay.
I think my motivation for me is I have really great leadership that invests a lot of time in me, and everyone here just really wants everyone to be successful. And so I think just having someone take their time to just kind of keep pushing you to be better, believe in yourself, and how it can help you in the future. I think that's really motivating. It makes me really want to do the best that I can and give, if someone's giving their personal time to help invest in you, it really makes me see that, everyone really cares about me. They want me to be successful. They're really setting me up. And I really think it's my leadership that motivates me every day to want to be the best, airman, and just in general, best person that I can be. And I think I really think that that's my motivation is I don't want to let anyone down. And I want to, as much as they've invested in me, I want to give back and say, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. You're taking a lot of time. This is what I've done. And I just want to do a really good job, because it's almost like, thank you for believing in me and pushing me to be better. This is what I've done now. So I don't know. I think that's really motivating for me, because like I said, this is my first experience in the Air Force, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And I was definitely coming from a different world. And I think I've had a really great time so far. And I think I've had amazing leadership.
Nice. No, that's awesome. And, for me, because one of the reasons why we started the podcast was to kind of get to know more about the individuals that are doing great things and that are for our career field, that are going above and beyond, that are just being excellent. And it really fires me up to see and to know that there are airmen out there that, from the start, they're just motivated and want to do more, want to contribute. and even being recognized at the base level, like that is, and representing our career field, right? Because even in your picture, I saw, it says Airlifter, and then in the background, you have all the legal books, right? So, and it's cool how they do that, because I was able to scroll through the pages and see the other airlifters, right? Airlifters of the week, and they have like some sort of association with where they work. And I saw one with the dogs. I was assuming they work with canine. Yeah, so it's really very neat how they do those things. So again, when you see the representation of just the JAG Corps overall, it's just great. And then again, right, so we get the message from ONS that says, hey, this person was Paralegal of the Month, and we get the blurb, but it's just different, I think, to actually get to know who is that person, and get to know that person, get their thoughts on, why did they join the Air Force, why did they do what they do, what's motivating you to do the things that you're doing. And I'm just, definitely thank you for accepting to do this podcast. Learned a lot from you today, and I know that you're gonna continue to do great things in the Air Force and in the JAG Corps. So for as long as you want to do it, to do that. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, no, thank you so much. Like I said, thank you for reaching out and, taking your time to talk to me, ask me questions. I definitely had a lot of fun, and I've kind of been having a lot of fun since joining the Air Force. But like I said, I really appreciate it, and thank you so much.
No, absolutely. And I hope that you have a great day over there, because I know it's still, I'm about to get ready to go to bed. You're just starting your day right now. So, but yeah, enjoy Yokota. Hopefully, this whole COVID-19 situation will be behind us here soon, and you can have an opportunity to not only explore more of Japan, but also some of the Pacific, because there's so much, and that's the thing, right? Like you're probably gonna leave hopefully you don't leave thinking, oh, I should have done more, but it's just so many things to do that we can't help but feel that way. So.
Yeah, I will definitely go travel, and I think I'm going to move Okinawa up to the top of my list, so we'll get that in for sure.
Absolutely. I've been selling Okinawa so hard. Like I have a brand new A1C here as well. He graduated PAC in May, and I've been telling him about Okinawa, so he didn't know anything about Okinawa. Right now, it's on the top of his dream list, because I talk about that every day, all day. So yeah, definitely go over there and check it out. They have some really good, well, obviously you can find some of the same things, but Okinawa soba you can only obviously get in Okinawa, and that's one thing that you may have to try. And the tempura is really good. Obviously the cocoa curry, but the cocoa curry is everywhere. I think they have it in Yokota as well. I'm not sure, but have you seen those?
We do, yes, we have that here too.
Right, everyone's crazy about the cocoa curry. All right, A1C Simmons. Well, thank you so much, and have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, sir.
All right, see you.